Hi friends, welcome or welcome back. This is Laura with Laura B. Flosstube. I am continuing my video journey for the Bloom Quilt Stitch Along. So I have the first 8 blocks done. I have my first 2 rows completed and they're all together and happy up on the design wall. So today I'm going to work on block 9 and 10. So without further ado, we're just going to head on over to the sewing machine and get sewing. All right, so the first block we're going to work on is block 9 because apparently I like going in numerical order. I'm going to hope that I'm going to keep my head out of your way. Just in case you haven't been here before, haven't watched my videos, this is the first one you've seen. I am using a Juki DX7. I have my stitch length set at 1.8. I'm using a clear kind of open toe foot that has kind of a triangle in the middle of it. So it tells me exactly where my needle is going to be hitting on the fabric. And the first shape that I am doing is a trapezoid. So here we go. Okay, you may not have seen me do that before, but sometimes, you know, if I know I want to like stitch back over the beginning stitches, but if I'm at a place where I know that it's not going to easily flow into the next shape, I'll just turn right around and come back this way and then go to the next shape like that. This is another instance where I cut one piece of fabric and I left my interfacing shapes together as well. And so instead of cutting 4 little rectangles, I have one large rectangle and the interfacing shapes that I'm going to sew all onto that one piece of fabric. I also have a couple circles to do for this flower. I'm going to get this one started. And if you watched block 7 and 8, I gave a lot of tips on how to get your circles smooth and how to not have to stop and start so many times. So if you're interested in a different way or just hearing how I do my circles, make sure you check out block 7 and 8. I have to apologize for my fingernails today. I'm between polishes because we are going out with some friends tonight. And to be quite honest, I kind of forgot that I took my polish off before I started this video. Real life, people, real life. I'm kind of excited. We're going to a restaurant that my stepdaughter works at tonight for dinner. And then we are going to listen to some live music. There's a musician that's going to be singing some Sinatra tonight and some other artists of that genre. And so my husband's really looking forward to it. He loves Sinatra. And I'm looking forward to spending the evening with some friends and my husband, of course. Alright, so I didn't say anything about this shape before I started it, and I have 3 more to go, so you've not missed out on too much. But this is the first time in this quilt that we have done a heart. So here is, and the fabric that I chose has hearts on it as well. So I probably am going to cut these apart just so I can position them on the fabric the way I want. And if you're using one piece of fabric like this, but you have multiple shapes, just remember that you want to make sure you leave at least ½ an inch between your shapes. So when you go to cut them apart, you'll still have enough fabric to do the trimming. This block has 10 shapes in it, which is more than some of the other blocks that we've done, but it's going to be super, super cute. Now on these hearts, if you're afraid that your little concave area here at the top is not going to work out well for you, you can put an extra stitch in there, just like we did on some of the other shapes that we've done in the past. That would kind of help you with turning. I'm not too worried about it, so I'm just gonna take my chances. I will show you how to clip these shapes as well, just in case you have not done any hearts before. And of course, I'll share some tips on turning them as well. All right, that is the pieces we need for block 9. I'm going to put those over on a design board so they can hang out, and we'll get block 10 together. The main flower for block 10 is the same shape we used for block 4, so you should be familiar with it. All right, we have all of our pieces sewn, and I will catch right back with you as I start cutting them out and flipping them out. So I have most of the shapes cut out already, just because none of the shapes were anything new. We've done most of them in previous blocks, so I wasn't going to share all of the same thing. We do have a new shape this week though with block 10, and that is the heart. Actually, I'm so sorry, it's block 9. Those have hearts, those hearts are in there. So I thought I would just cut one of these hearts off here, and I'll show you how I'm going to trim it. Let me swing you down here so you can see it better. All right, so when I go to trim this heart, what I'm going to do is on the point, I'm just going to kind of angle that a little bit and then leave my somewhere between an eighth and a quarter inch allowance around the outside. When I get to that middle section here, I'm going to go down to the stitch line, but not through it, and then come back out. So basically you just want to clip that concave part in the center of the top of the heart, and then angle that bottom around the point so you can still get that nice point at the bottom of your heart. So we have 4 of those to do. I've actually gotten 2 of them done now. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other 2 real quick. All right, and just as before, I'll use my Fiskars scissors to just kind of slide underneath that interfacing and slice up. Now, if you saw block 5 and 6 when I used the Turn It All tool, you probably realize that block 9, you have another shape you can use that for. So if you wanted to get if you have a Turn It All tool or you have one on order and you want to use it, you can definitely use that for these, because these are all tucked underneath that center circle. And so you're not going to see this, and you can easily flip those out. But I am just going to go ahead and turn them out the normal way, I guess. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get all of these shapes turned out, and then I will meet you at the ironing board and we will lay out our blocks. All right, so here we are at the ironing board, and I'm just going to press all of the shapes and then lay out the block. I am going to still use the free fuse this time just because I really kind of like it. It's so fast, and then I don't have to wait for the glue to dry and everything. I can just go right on and do my applique right after I get the blocks together. So I'm just pressing all my shapes really well. And I do have the stems cut. There are 2 stems for this block. The background piece definitely needs pressed. Now, since this one is very similar to the block that we did for the second row, I am going to go ahead and fold my fabric into eighths. So we're going to do the quarters and then across, and then give this a good press. And that's going to help us line up all of those shapes that we have to lay out. All right, so here is what our marked piece looks like, and I'm going to turn this just so my words are going the right way. And the first thing we're going to do is lay out our stems. Now remember, if you take your stems and fold them in half and just give it a little pinch, then you'll know exactly where that goes from that center point, and then they'll be laid out correctly for your block. Give it a pinch, and then it goes the opposite way. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of the free fuse on our fabric. And I am going to use parchment paper today instead of fabric to go over this, just to give another option for anyone that may want one. So we're going to fuse, oh, this is crinkly, isn't it? We're going to fuse the stems down first, get those all into place. I just happen to have parchment paper in my space today because my husband bought this jacket on eBay and it's suede, and I had to Google and figure out how to get the creases that were in the jacket out of it from when they shipped it. For anyone that wants to know, put your iron on like wool and silk and use a piece of butcher paper or parchment paper, and then you can and iron it from the reverse side, and then you are able to get those creases out. All right, so I'm going to lay these out. I just dropped one. And the hearts. Now before I fuse any of this, I will check it with my ruler and make sure I'm in that 8.5 inch square really well. And it does look like I'm close. I'm going to have to move this little heart up some. I'm trying to leave about 1/2 inch around each side. 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch, I guess, is what it's really figuring out to be. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to carefully lift these up at their humps. Be mindful of where your iron is. Don't burn yourself. I know that I've had people question me on if I'm safe. I'm safe. I definitely know not to get my hand on that hot iron. And I am going to go ahead and put free fuse under all of this. I'm going to get that parchment paper back and just press a couple of them down at a time. check those, make sure everybody is stuck. I think we're good. And the last piece we need to put on is just the center. And I'm going to hold this one just for a few more seconds because going through all of those layers, I mean, we're going through, let's see, 2 fabric layers and 2 interfacing layers to get to that bottom free fuse. And the other thing I believe I showed in the last video, the other thing you can do very carefully is you can flip your block over and iron it from the back if that is not fusing as well as it needs to. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just to give it just a little bit more attention. Never a bad thing. Blocks need attention too. All right, that should be good though. And it was, because otherwise, you know, something would have fallen off. So here's block 9, and then we'll work on block 10. All right, block 10, the flower is just in the center of the block. So I just ironed my background fabric in half. The first thing again that I'll put in is my stem. So let's just put some free fuse down that folded line. And remember, I'm doing my stems so they go into the seams. So we'll put a little parchment over this and fuse the stem down. Now I have not pressed the shapes for this block yet, so let me do that real quick. There's the 2 leaves and the flower in the center of the flower. All right, so now it's really up to you if you want your flower to have the points in the center or if you want it to be with the concaves on the stem. I'm going to do the concaves, I believe. Let's see what the other one did. Yeah, the other one was with the points, so we're going to do concave on this one. And then we'll just place our petals and put those parallel to each other. And then our cute little center circle. And I don't really think that we need to check this one, but we will, just because it's never a bad idea. All right, so we just have the 4 shapes for this block. This one was pretty easy. Definitely simpler than block 9. We're going to go ahead and put parchment over there because I do know that I got a little free fuse on the cloth from the stem. I think that the petals will cover that up, but I don't want that free fuse on my iron. All right, so as soon as I get done fusing these pieces down, we will be ready to applique. All right, so I'm at the machine and I'm getting ready to applique. I do have my clear foot still on the machine, and I have a brown thread and a white bobbin because you know, the bobbin's fine. It doesn't need to be the same color as your top thread. I am going to do this the same way as I did block 8, where I'm going to start with the stem and go up and down and then catch this blue wedge and go around like that. After I get those done, I'll probably do the center circles and then the hearts. So I am going to start sewing and okay, so here's block 10, and we just have 4 simple shapes on this. So I'll do the stem, the leaves, the middle circle, and then the flower, and then we'll be able to trim both of these up and put them on the wall. Alright, so on this flower, you may notice I'm trying to stop, so when I'm in the inner part, my needle is on the inside of the zigzag. When I'm on the outer point, it's on the outside of the zigzag. And that just will give me a much smoother transition when I'm, you know, changing the angles of my stitch. Our blocks have been appliqued down, and we used the 8.5-inch square to line up our pieces when we were laying them out. So it should be a matter of just finding those spots back and then cutting them down. Okay, so let me get this up on the design board and we'll do our wrap up. We have finished block 9 and 10 for the Bloom Quilt Sew Along. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you saw something that's going to help you get your blocks completed. I hope you enjoyed making the first 8 of the blocks for the quilt. And thanks so much for tuning in to my channel. I really appreciate it. My subscriber base is over 4,000 now, which is a huge accomplishment. I remember not too long ago where I was thinking I would never get to 1,000. So this has been super exciting. I hope you have found some good content. Please continue to like and share my videos out. And I will see you next time. We'll be doing blocks 11 and 12. I also have a floss tube coming up. So feel free to jump in on the cross stitch floss tubes as well. But until next time, happy stitching.